Sliding forward, we got some Sega news that I really wanted to talk about this week because I think
Yeah.
this is like Sega had an epiphany this week, which I'm super happy to read about. Sega's considering Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio reboots, and working on a super game. I don't know what they mean by super game. Let's read a little bit. This is coming from IGN.
What does that mean?
What's that?
What does that mean?
Let's find out. I don't know what it means either. A financial results presentation has revealed that Sega is considering reboots of Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, and other dormant IP while it begins work on a super game. A recent presentation to mark the end of the fiscal year was published to the Sega Sammy Investor Relations website today. The slideshow includes a number of interesting details about the company's future. One slide concerns the utilization of IP, intellectual property assets, noting that IPs are active and dormant, and how Sega plans to remaster, remake, and reboot older series to capitalize on the global recognized IP it has in the vault. A number of old fan favorite franchises are mentioned, including Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, Knights, Space Channel 5, Panzer Dragoon, Res. At the very least, this suggests the company is interested in bringing some of its games back to the market while strengthening its IP, such as Yakuza, Persona, and Sonic. Now, what IGN doesn't mention,
Yes.
and which I heard from a huge number of other. Actually, no, there's more information here. Let me keep reading. The presentation also mentions Sega's 5-year plan to release what's called a super game. While unclear exactly what that term implies, Sega says it's making focused investments in the project and aims to have released by 2026 fiscal year. It's a whole nother console generation from now. As well as turning its existing IPs, active IPs, into global brands. The company wants to create new IP which can expand globally, but which it doesn't expect to immediately highly profitable. No details were given on which Sega Studios would make the game, nor what kind of game it would be. As Sega works towards its super game, it also mentions the development of a new first-person shooter title at a European studio, which could well be the ambitious multiplayer sci-fi shooter Creative Assembly is working on. Sega expanded Creative Assembly back in 2017, acquiring Crytek Black Sea and adding to its ranks as Creative Assembly Sophia. Ooh, a lot of crazy terms in this story. Um, what they don't mention in this IGN article is that I've also heard that Sega was saying that they're disappointed in themselves for not utilizing more of a multi-platform idea when it comes to their games. We
Noobs.
meaning that like when it comes to like their big IP, you can only really find them on like one console instead of multi-platform. So Yakuza's only on PlayStation. Panzer, not Panzer Dragoon, but Fantasy Star is only on Xbox. There's a lot of games that Sega could have made more money with if they had put them on more consoles. Persona 5
Yeah.
especially. That should have been on the Switch, bro. With Joker being in
Day one.
Smash, why isn't Persona 5 on the Switch? Why do we have this action game Persona Arena Persona whatever, but no Persona 5 on the Switch? So,
Didn't it come out now though on the Switch?
not the RPG game, not Persona 5 regular. It's still not on the Switch, and which is ridiculous. That game would sell gang bucks on the Switch. It would sell gang bucks on any console. But Sega has been
Epic.
really the last holdout when it comes to console exclusives. Every other company, Namco, Capcom, even stupid Konami, has adapted a multi-platform strategy, and Sega's the only one like, no, I'll put this on Switch, no, I'll put this on Xbox, no, I'll put this on PlayStation, and that game will stay there in that console, and it'll be that's it. Persona 5, you got to play it on PS5. You know what I'm saying? That's it. That's the only place to get it. Panzer Dragoon, you got to play it on the Switch. That's it. That's the only place you can get it. You
That's a good game.
Sega has so many good things in the vault. So many good things. I was happy that Streets of Rage came back last year, brought that game up, and I'm hyped for the DLC. And I'm happy that they were like remaking House of the Dead on the Switch too. But those games should all be multi-platform. Those games should be on every console. Sega has so many good IP that can make them so much money. And I remember last week, Sin, you were saying how Nintendo, since they were looking to buy companies, they should buy a piece of Sega to help them with the Sonic franchise. No, Nintendo doesn't have to save Sega. Sega has to save themselves, bro. Like, start pulling things out of the vault that you have that are great games and great franchises. The franchises you used to compete against Nintendo when they were your biggest rival. When you and Nintendo were going to war, bro. When you guys were like sword and sword. Pull those games out the vault, man, and make new ones. You have so many
Yeah,
good games.
it kicks you into high gear when you have a competitor.
And that's the biggest problem with Sega since they went third party. They probably feel like they're not in competition. It's not about being number one anymore. They got humbled by the failures of the Sega Saturn and the Sega Dreamcast, and they kind of stopped going for that I gotta be number one mentality how they used to have. Do you remember the commercials from Sega when we were kids, bro?
Yes.
Sega was coming at Nintendo's throat, man. Sega was coming for blood when we were kids, man.
Because they were on their home turf.
Bro, Sega on the playground, the arguments between kids, whether Sega Genesis was better than the Super Nintendo, that was probably my favorite era in gaming, just because there was only two big video game companies instead of three, and it was like Bloods versus Crips, because half the playground was with Nintendo and half was with Sega. That was the most
Right.
wildest time for me in gaming, the most wildest. Once Sony came in and took over, Sega just kind of gave up and they just stopped trying, bro. They stopped.
I can't believe it. After all that shit, they're back together. Wait, who? Nintendo and Sega?
Yeah, he probably is talking about Nintendo and Sega. I can't believe when Sonic Adventure 2 came to the GameCube, I couldn't believe that I was playing Sonic on a GameCube, bro. I couldn't even believe it. It was like mind shattering. Like, bro, here I am pressing this giant green A button to play a Sonic Adventure game on the GameCube. That was wild. That was a wild time, man. That was a wild time.
Yeah.
We would have never thought that would ever happen. I'm telling you, it was like WWF versus WCW on the playground.
Oh my god, I wish WWE. Anyways.